In this video, we're going to have a look at how to calculate two-step chance probability using a table array. So two-step chance probabilities are calculations involving two events. So for example, you can roll a die twice, you can flip a coin twice, or you could roll a die and flip a coin. All of those are examples of two-step chance probabilities. To help you calculate the probabilities involved in two-step chance experiments, you can use a table array, which is a systematic way of displaying all the possible outcomes of the two-step chance experiment. So let's have a look at an example. In this example, a die is rolled twice and the number that it lands on is recorded. So we want to list the sample space using a table array. Use the table to determine how many outcomes they are. Work out how many outcomes contain at least 1 5, and then work out the probability of getting at least 1 5 if we were to roll both our dice. So let's start off with doing our table array. So both events are the same, and that is a die being rolled. So up the top, I will put dice 1. Along the side, I will put dice 2, and then I will list each options under dice 1 and dice 2, which will be my numbers 1 to 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I can go ahead and use those headings to determine what my possible outcomes are going to be. So filling in my first column, I can roll a 1 and a 1, a 1 and a 2, a 1 and a 3, 1 and a 4, 1 and a 5, 1 and a 6. And then doing the same for my second column, but this time my first number is going to be a 2. So I can get a 2 and a 1, a 2 and a 2, 2 and a 3, 2 and a 4, 2 and a 5, 2 and a 6. And I continue that for my 4 remaining columns. So now that I have gone ahead and completed my table, I can have a look at my sample space. And my sample space is going to be all of my possible combinations, which add up to a total of 36 different combinations. So there's a possibility of getting 36 different outcomes when I roll 2 dice together. So now I need to have a look and see how many outcomes contain at least 1 5. So to do that, when I roll die 1, I know that anything in the column with 5 up the top is going to give me at least 1 5. And then when I roll die 2, anything in the row that has 5 is going to give me at least 1 5. So I've now highlighted all of my possible options that contain at least 1 5, and that is a total of 11 options. So I know that how many outcomes contain at least 1 5? 11 outcomes. Just having a look at the last part. What is the probability of containing at least 1 5? Well, the probability of at least 1 5 is going to equal the number of favourable outcomes over the number of possible outcomes. So I need to write that formula as my first line of working out. So my number of favourable outcomes, the number that contain at least 1 5 are 11, and total number of possible outcomes is 36. So the probability of getting an outcome that contains at least 1 5 is 11 out of 36. So as an example of how we can use a table array to determine the sample space and then the probability of certain outcomes on a two-step chance experiment.